Thank you for joining us. To ensure we have all attendees logged in, we'll wait another minute before beginning. Thank you for joining us for BDO's webinar on putting you back in business, unleashing the power of Xero. My name is Brooke Kemsley. I'm a Chartered Accountant with BDO Taranaki, and I will be facilitating this webinar for you today. We would really like to answer your questions, so throughout our discussion, please type your questions into the question box for me to ask the panel on your behalf at the end of today's session. If you're watching on your phone, you will likely find a question mark at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a desktop, first select the orange arrow, then head to the question drop-down section to type in your question. I also have on screen some tips if you encounter any audio problems. As you leave the webinar today, you will see a short survey. We would appreciate you taking a moment to complete this for us. This information helps us improve our webinars and bring you relevant topics in the future. I would like to now hand over to Gayleen Finlay, Principal of BDO Taranaki, to introduce today's speakers and topics. Welcome, Gayleen.
Thanks, Brooke, and good afternoon, everyone. Today I've got the pleasure of introducing our two presenters, Jayden Timmins and Melissa Peters. Jayden understands firsthand how easy it is to get bogged down in the detail of your business. Coming from an engineering background, Jayden was a diesel mechanic for 10 years before swapping the nuts and bolts for numbers. He has been with BDO for the past 4 years, working with commercial businesses, utilising the accounting software solutions such as Xero and Hubdocs. Melissa has been with BDO coming up 7 years and is a key member of our software team. She leads our software implementations and has a good knowledge of many different software solutions and apps to help businesses drive efficiencies. Both Jayden and Melissa are Xero accredited advisors, and Melissa is also our BDO Xero Masterclass trainer. Whether you are new or a long-time user of Xero, I am confident today you will be able to take away at least 1 to 2 gems to help unleash the power of Xero and free up some of your valuable time. I will now hand over to Jayden and Melissa.
Well, welcome everyone. As Gayleen has mentioned, my name is Jayden and I'll be one of your presenters today. I'd like to first start by saying a big thank you for taking out of the time out of your day today to join with us in this seminar. And today, it's all about putting you back in your business by unleashing the power of Xero. And we're also living in very uncertain times, aren't we? There's a bit going on at the moment. The whole economic landscape has changed with COVID-19. And with this, it's brought a lot of uncertainty, and with that uncertainty, a lot of stress and added pressure. As mentioned, today's webinar is all about putting you back in your business, providing you with the confidence to get the most out of Xero, and hopefully freeing you up to do the things that you love the most, actually running your business. So let's start by looking at what we're going to cover today. First of all, we're going to look at how to receive revenue quicker. And that's about getting the cash in your back pocket as quickly as possible. Then we're going to touch on speeding up data entry, because the last thing we want to do is be up all night coding those transactions every week or every month. Then we're going to talk about, well, Melissa will touch on streamlining payments. This is a really cool area that can really save you a lot of time. And then we're going to talk about going paperless, talking about digital library and storing your documents in the cloud, while rounding it out with a bit of information around how to use the numbers to make informed decisions. Hopefully by the end of it all, you'll be like Bugs here, but a little bit more laid back and more confident with using your software. So Melissa, how do we get our cash in quick?
That is a great question, Jayden, because as you've already touched on, cash is the #1 resource that you can have in your business. It really is the kingpin of why you're in business. But often you find that there is a bit of a delay between when you invoice your customers and when they actually make the payment, so you've got that cash available to you. Xero has a number of different features to help you as a business owner reduce that delay though, so that you can get those payments faster and not need to individually follow up some of your customers who may be a little bit slow paying. The first of these quick tips is setting up invoice reminders in Xero. These are an easy way to cut some admin time out of your business. The invoice reminders allow you to send out an automatic reminder to customers that maybe have overdue invoices or have invoices that are due in the next few days. You can set up to 4 different invoices where invoice reminders will be sent to a customer if the reminder criteria is met. These instances can be set at either a number of days before the invoice is due or a number of days after it becomes overdue. The reminder will then automatically send your customer an email reminding them to pay the invoice, and that's not going to take any effort from you. So you should hopefully receive the payments in a timely manner from your customers without having to do that individual email or call like you might be doing at the moment. So hopefully giving you a little bit more time to do the things you love. The other way that Xero can help you receive money faster from your customers is using things like payment services. They help you receive payment as soon as possible from customers. And while they do require you to have an account or a subscription with the payment service of your choice that you want to use, they can help dramatically reduce how long it takes to receive payment from customers. There are a number of payment services available that give you different options as to how you receive payments. These include through PayPal, using credit card systems like Stripe, or direct debit systems such as Go Cardless. Once you have these systems set up, it allows you to send out the invoice to the customer, and when they receive that invoice, there's a pay now option right there on the invoice, and they can select to pay either by credit card or direct debit, depending on if you have one or both of those systems set up. And that should hopefully get you your cash in quicker.
That's what we want, Melissa. Cash in our back pockets as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to move on to some tips and techniques of how to speed up data entry. And today we're going to look at 3 main areas, but firstly we're going to talk about how to auto code with bank rules. Then we're going to touch on how to split transactions, and what that's all about is getting everything coded to the right area. So later on when you do run these reports, it's going to be a true and fair reflection of where your expenses have gone to. And a couple of really cool tips on the inbuilt calculator in Xero. Now this is going to save you heaps of time when you start using this tool. So our first one is bank rules. So with bank rules, you can auto code out transactions, and this is going to reduce the number of transactions each time when you go to code them. For example, bank rules are great for bank fees, interest, loan payments, and transfers to your personal account, but you don't want to be using them for one-off transactions such as repairs and maintenance or capital purchases. There are situations when you need to put a bit more detail in there, but for all your transactions that come through every month and you don't need the detail, bank rules is certainly the way to go. So how do we set one up? Basically, in your reconciliation screen, you'll have this is a bank fee that's popped through. Just click on options there, up pops the panel, and you're going to create a new bank rule. Now, once this panel here pops up, you've got to add a few conditions to it. And creating rules can be a little bit tricky, as you need to select the right balance of the statement details to make sure that they pick up every month. And this could be an area where you get some help from your advisor when you first set them up. But once you've got a feel for it, this is a fantastic tool to speed up your data entry. So basically here, you set the conditions, you tell it where it's going to code to, you give it a rule title, you click save, and voila, you've got your rule. What does it look like when you've done one? Well, here is evidence of this bank rule being made. Now it comes up automatically as a shaded blue area. And all you have to do is go and click OK and job's done. It's really as simple as that. So you can see if you've got these set up, you're going to save a lot of time with all those multiple transactions that come through all the time. The next thing that we're going to talk about is splitting transactions. And again, I just reiterate, this is about getting things in the right place. Say, for example, I've gone to Bunnings, I've purchased something for $19.65, and at the moment, it's just saying I'm putting it all to plant and machinery. Well, I might know, hang on a minute, that's not quite right. I actually brought 2 items from there. So how do I split this transaction? I go to Add Details, and up pops this panel. In here, I can add as many lines as I like. So I've started off with my $19.65, and now I'm saying, hang on a minute, I need to split that up to buying my screwdriver for $10, and I got timber glue for $9.65. So now I've got them going to the correct code, and everything is in line. You can add as many lines as you like, and it all depends on how many items you purchased and where you want them coded to. Another cool feature is this quantity and unit price section. So say I wanted to select 50% of my unit price. All I need to do is go in there, pop in my 0.5, and that's going to give me 50% of my $10. So obviously that could be whatever percentage you want. You can kind of use this as a really powerful tool to split your transactions. But I do like this feature, Melissa, and this is the inbuilt calculator. Because a lot of time when I'm at home working, the kids have run off with the calculator and I can't find it anymore. And I can simply put the numbers into this panel and it's going to calculate it for me. As soon as I leave that cell, it's going to calculate the number. And you don't need to panic because it's got a bit of a kiddie lock on this one. So if the numbers don't add up to the original source transaction, it's not going to let you reconcile or save the transaction. So there's a bit of a safety mechanism in there. I'm going to hand it back over to you now, Melissa, to tell us about streamlining payments.
Thanks, Jayden. And sometimes in your business, it really does feel like you're dealing with the same invoice all the time because you've got to code it up and then you've also got to make the payment. But the good news is that Xero can help cut some of that admin time out of your business as well. So at the moment, paying the bills may be a major drain of your time when you're sitting down to do some of your admin work. For a single invoice, your current process may look a little something like this. You receive the invoice from your supplier, you log into Xero, and you enter that invoice and code it up so that you can keep track of your upcoming payments that you need to make and easily reconcile that payment once you've actually made the payment. Then completely separately, you then have to log into your online banking platform and one by one load all of the invoices that you need to pay, entering in your supplier details for each and every single one. And at the moment, it's likely that those 2 steps are happening completely independently of each other and you're having to effectively deal with every invoice twice. How Xero can help you here is by creating something called a batch payment. And so instead of doing that 2-step process, your new process will look a little something like this. So you start by receiving an invoice from your supplier. You then log into Xero as you have before and enter that invoice so that you can track upcoming payments and reconcile the bank account nice and easy. And at this stage, that's pretty much very similar to how you've been doing it at the moment. Where this process is going to save you time is in these next few stages. Once all of your invoices are loaded, you can then go through the list and check them all, check all of the ones that you want to make in a payment run. So you might have 20 invoices in Xero and you might decide you only want to pay 10 of them today. So you can go through and select the checkbox next to the 10 that you want to pay. You then can export a batch payment file from Xero, log into your internet banking platform and upload that batch payment file into your internet banking platform. You can then just skim your eyes over it and confirm the payment. So all of a sudden, you're doing everything all from Xero, the information entered in Xero, and using that information to effectively code, reconcile, and pay all of your bills all in one go.
That's fabulous. That's really cool. So if anyone's got any questions about that, feel free to ask them at the end of the session. Or also, you can always contact us about it, because that's a really cool feature. We can set you up and get you ready to go with batch payments.
Absolutely.
So now I'm going to talk about going paperless with Xero and also this thing called Hubdocs. Now, this is all about an easy to use online document storage. So it's almost like having a digital library. And the reason why we want this is because it's much more tidy and efficient. We can see Harry here to our left, and he's struggling. He's got paper all around him. Maybe his accountant's asked for an invoice and he's just not sure where to find it anymore. So what we can do is use the software to be more like Ben. It'll be all on his computer. Wherever he goes, he can access it. He's got it at his fingertips, and he can make better informed decisions about his business. There's some other cool things that we're going to touch on today, and that's this auto extract function. And again, batch payments can be made through Hubdocs. So the first thing is in Xero. Maybe you weren't aware, but it already has a digital library. So in order to get to that, you simply click on that top panel. You slide down there, you hit files, and up pops this screen. Now you can see there to your right, you actually have your own Xero email address that you can forward items, invoices, documents, whatever it is that you want to pop in there. You can forward it off to that email address, and it's going to come in this section. You can also upload files. So maybe you've got something on your desktop or laptop, pop it in there, and all of a sudden it's in your Xero software. Very cool, very efficient, very simple. But wait, there is more, and there's quite a lot more, because just recently Hubdoc has joined the Xero family. And this is a real woohoo moment, because there's lots of features in here that are going to change the way that you do business. So I'm going to just give you a bit of a run through how the process works so you can get your head around it. The first stage is when you have an invoice in your hand or any other document and you want it to upload it, you can scan it with your phone app, or you can email forward it, or you can even just use the normal scanner printer at work and push it up into your software. And this is really where the magic starts to begin. In this middle section, the software takes over, and it does some cool things like auto files it, and also auto extract some information. And the final stage is when they talk together and Hubdoc and Xero start a synchronization process. So let's go and have a look at a little bit more detail what's actually going on behind the scenes. As I mentioned, the first stage is you pushing the information up into the cloud. So that's either taking a photo of it, scanning it, whatever method you're using, and that will push it up into the app. And as we see here, it's gone into the next phase of the process. This is what's happening in Hubdoc, and this is in behind the scenes. You're not even doing this manually. This is automatic. It has found and made its own folder and put the invoice into that folder. So it's a fantastic automatic filing system. Everything is very easy to find. You can go up to that top search bar and you can put in a part number, an invoice number, an amount, whatever it is, and that's going to bring up your information. And so when the accountant asks you, what was that for? You can easily find your information really quick. In fact, if you give your accountant access to it, we can find it really quick. So it's a fantastic tool as an online document digital library. But that's not the end of it, and probably not the most exciting thing about it. What Hubdoc does is it also auto extracts information. So again, in this second stage, When you've uploaded this invoice, and we can see it on the left from the orange demo company, Hubdoc then goes and extracts the information. So we can see on the right, it's gone and extracted the invoice number, the date, and the total amount. And what we can do in here is we can create a bill payment. We can actually code it in here and then use that bill payment in Xero to match the transactions. So I'll provide a little bit more detail about that shortly. So once you've coded it, and it's going to use the same chart of accounts as what you've got in Xero, so it's really simple. Then you're going to go to the final stage of Hubdocs, and this is where it synchronizes with Xero. So what happens is when you open your Xero file, Hubdoc has created this bill invoice. But what's really a really cool feature with this, if you see that little yellow tab there that's highlighted, that is actually your original document that you sucked up into the cloud through Hubdoc. So all your information is collected together in the transaction line, and it's super easy to find, and it's really, really tidy. So once we make the payment, then obviously we need to reconcile the bank. So when we've made the payment that went through Hubdocs to Orange Demo Company, our final stage is to go and reconcile that transaction. And it'll auto match off, it'll find the bill payment to the amount you've paid, and all you have to do is come over here, click OK, job's done. So this is a super cool, efficient feature to use, and it's super handy for both your accountant and you when you're running your business. But Melissa, what does it all mean, all this information?
Well, that's a great question. And I mean, this is what it's all been about, isn't it? At the end of the day, your accounting system isn't just to make your accountant's life easier at year end. You've put all of this effort into coding it so that you as the business owner can get some really important insights into how your business is going. And the reports in Xero are, again, not just made for your accountant, they can give you those important insights. And that's why it's important of putting all of that information in the right place as you go along so that these reports have some real powerful meaning for you. So today we're going to look at 4 really handy reports that you as a business owner can run and get a good feel of how your business is going. Getting into the nitty-gritty of what all of these numbers mean in each of these reports is probably its own session because it can get quite complicated and some of those insights where you're going to dig to. But we'll give you a quick overview of the basics of what you're going to look for in these 4 reports. The first report is the accounts receivable summary. This is going to give you a key overview of which customers have outstanding invoices and how old those invoices are. And this is going to be a really good check to see how your invoice reminders are working and that they are being successful. And it may mean that after you've done your invoice reminders, there may be the odd customer that you do need to follow up with a phone call or another email to make sure that you get that payment in there. The second report is the accounts payable summary. And this is really similar to the accounts receivable one. But what this will show you is the bills that you have due to pay, and again, how old those invoices are. There may be an invoice that you accidentally missed paying, and this report will show you, and you can very quickly go and make that payment so as not to annoy some of your key suppliers. And it can also be a really handy report to get a feel of what your upcoming cash flow needs are. Because it's giving you a summary of all of the invoices you have due to pay, you know how much money you're going to need to outlay this month for those payments. So you can get a bit of a plan in place so that you make sure that you have that cash available. The third report is the profit and loss report. And this is the report you're going to need to get a feel on how profitable your business is over a given period, such as the last month or the current financial year to date. This will show you how profitable, what the net profit is, just by simply showing the income that you've received over that period, less any expenses that you've incurred. The fourth and final report we're going to have a very quick overview of today is the cash summary report. This is, again, a little similar to your profit and loss, but it goes a little step further. So it's going to show exactly where your cash has gone to over the period, whether that, again, be a month or a year. We'll show you where your cash has come from income, where it's gone for your expenses, but also show you other items such as asset purchases or money that you've taken out as drawings or anything like that. So it's giving you a complete summary of where all your cash has gone.
Well, thanks, team. Now I'm going to hand it back to Brooke, who's going to tell you a little bit what's next.
Thank you, Melissa and Jayden. They've given us a general overview of some of the ways that Xero can help you save time and get the most out of your accounting software. They haven't gone into all the details of how to use some of these functions because each entity is different, and we will also be bringing more Xero webinars to you in the future on other Xero topics. We suggest that you take advantage of BDO's Walk-in Wednesday, where you can pop in between 9 AM and 11 AM every Wednesday to ask our Xero experts any questions relating to your Xero file. This is a free service and no appointment is necessary. Or contact your advisor to arrange a specific training, or also use the help function within Xero itself, as it provides a large amount of useful instructions. Just a reminder to please type in your questions to the panel by clicking the orange arrow to open your control panel and go to the question pane. And also please remember to complete our short survey as you exit this webinar to help bring you relevant content in the future. I would now like to invite all speakers to please rejoin us for our audience questions. We can have Gayleen and Melissa and Jayden to please turn on your cameras as well. Just wait, there we go, thank you. Gayleen, we'll start with you. What is the cost of Hubdocs, or how do I know if I already have it or get it set, how do I get it set up?
Okay, good question, Brooke. So currently with Hubdocs, if you're using any of the business advisor subscriptions, you will have Hubdocs available. So it's probably best to talk to your advisor and we can just point you in the right direction there. Just want to say you've already got access to files within Xero, so they're two completely separate things. And I guess if you're not using a business edition subscription of Xero that has Hubdocs in there, then you can still use Hubdocs, but you'll be having to go through that separately direct to Hubdocs, or you can still come to us and that would be $18 a month extra.
Okay, thanks, Gayleen. Melissa, a question for you, please. How do I set up batch payments? Does it work for all banks, and are there any payment limits?
So each of the banks do have slightly different limits, and we've been quite fortunate to have experience with all of the major banks within New Zealand, so can definitely help. Some have limits such as a number of suppliers that you can pay in a single payment, but all of these are options under that bills to pay tab. So you can go through into bills to pay, tick them, and right along the top of that table where all of your due invoices are, there's a batch payment area that you can set up. Make sure that you enter all of your contact details, all of their bank account numbers to easily make those payments. But yeah, it's just as simple as logging into internet banking once you do that and uploading that file and chatting with your bank manager if you're not quite sure. Make sure that your internet banking does have that capability to make those payments.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Jayden, one for you. What happens if my bank rule picks up a transaction it shouldn't?
Thanks, Brooke. Yeah, that's a really good question, and it happens a little bit. So you'll notice that in one of those slides, and you can go back in the recording, you can actually tell it when it shades out the blue screen not to apply the rule. So you've got an option there to tell it just before you push OK to say, hang on a minute, I don't want this one here anymore. You can actually put do not apply, and that'll allow you to go into the transaction, add some more detail in there, and then you can click OK. So cool feature, and that's a very good question.
Okay, thank you. And we've just got one final question, but just remember you can pop any questions into that orange panel. But the last question at the moment is, can I throw out my paper copies of invoices if they are in Xero? So perhaps that one's for Melissa.
Absolutely. So under the IRD rules, you do have to keep invoices for 7 years with cloud storage. That hasn't changed. The great news is that IRD have approved Xero's storage solution. What that means is you can in fact throw that piece of paper away once you've uploaded it into Xero. IRD have done all their checks and balances and they're happy that the way that Xero is doing it, that if something did happen, not that it's ever going to, that they have procedures in place that all of that data is safe. So absolutely go throw all of your paper out once you've got it in Xero.
It's actually
Awesome.
probably much safer, isn't it? Because it's all hooked onto the
It's
transaction
all right
as well,
there.
you know, rather than trying to find it all the time, which can be a real pain.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, that brings us to the end of our questions and our webinar. Thank you to Gayleen, Melissa and Jayden. Just to let you know, our next webinar will be on Tuesday, the 22nd of September at 12 noon. The topic will be understanding your financial statements. So book the time in your calendar now and keep an eye on your inbox for more details close to the time. If you have any specific questions that haven't been answered today, please feel free to contact any one of our speakers directly. Thank you for your time and I hope you found it useful. Have a good afternoon.